That's Margaret Owen in the house. Thank you, Margaret. And just to remind you, she has a beautiful table in the lobby. So go after the service, go talk to her, tell her how much her music means to you. Thank you. And we also have we are very privileged to have a guest speaker here this Sunday, and you might have heard of her before. Please welcome the wonderful Reverend Sharon Ramey. Reverend Kathy Ann is taking a well-deserved vacation day after having done a retreat all last week. So, if you are new to us, welcome. We're so happy you're here. And in the lobby, you'll see navy blue bags like this. It's full of things that will tell you more about us, what we believe, what we're doing. And in it also is a connection card like this, which you can also get one out of the offering basket when it goes by. And if you sign your contact information, particularly your email address, you can put it back in the basket. You can give it to somebody with a badge. There's a plastic box in the northern table. All of those things help you then become part of our community. And what we do with that is we let you know things like, there's a marathon coming up next Sunday, so go a different way, or traffic alerts. But mainly, it is to share a midweek spiritual practice with you, so that all of us are doing something together as a community, even during the week. So it's a very sweet way to connect. And speaking of technology and social media, if you have a smartphone with you, feel free to take a picture or send a message to a friend reminding them you can watch us online. You can watch the wonderful Margaret Owens and Reverend Sharon do their thing today. So we are a spiritual community that love and honor each other, right? And so every Sunday we honor a special group of our membership, the folks who had a birthday last week or this week. So if you do, stand and we will give you a gift. Happy birthday! Yay, happy birthday! Lovely. All of our spring babies. Sweet. So we'll now begin the sacred part of our service. We'll take time to court that inner presence. We'll ask our musicians to come up. For music always opens the door for me to go into a more quiet place, a more internal place, and feel the majesty that is within us in the divine self. So after the song, Reverend Harold will come up and he will lead us deeper inward through prayer.
So I invite you right now just to move into that sweet surrender. To allow ourselves to know that there's nothing to do in this moment. To surrender to that one life, that one presence, that one known by many names, but yet is that one. The very one which is the power of love, unconditional love, undefended, unconditional, unlimited, expansive love. I take this moment right now to recognize that power of love within me. I recognize it within each and every one of you here and now. For that love that has created everything, that has created every plant, every human being, every planet and galaxy, to surrender into the power of love that moves us to a greater and greater place to be. And I recognize that love it is expressed right here and now through our musical team, through our guest with Margaret Owens, who should be a reverend, just through her mere words and song. And of course, through our beloved Reverend Sharon Ramey, expressing the divine as the power of love. And so I call this time so very good. Why? Because it is God. It is love. It is who we are. And so it is.
Welcome. I'm Sharon Ramey, and I'm a minister here at Center for Spiritual Living. But before I go any further, I want to dovetail on what Margaret was just singing about. Can you just close your eyes 1 second and take a deep breath? I am seeking my good. What is your good? Oh, just come up with a word or two. Is it peace? Is it love? Is it prosperity? Is it joy? Is it wonder? Is it fulfillment? And that good that you are seeking, that is what God is. And I know in this very moment, God just wants to get all over you with that good. And so you take a deep breath and know it is done. And so it is. Thank you. I'm sorry, but Seeking My Good is one of my favorite songs ever. Thank you, Margaret, for writing that. So, again, I'm Sharon Ramey, and I'm really glad that Kathy Ann has taken a break so that I get to come and play. And, yeah. And today we're going to be talking about the power of love. And the power of love. And the power of love comes out in my ministry as wanting to promote the abundant life for everyone. No exclusions. Wanting everybody to rise up together in prosperity, health, fulfillment, creativity, power, wanting all of us to rise up together. And you know what? I know that it takes the power of love for any of us to accomplish that kind of big thing. So, love. What is love? There have been so many descriptions over the years, and the descriptions, nothing pins it down perfectly. So just for the purpose of today, what I want love to be known as is that connectedness, that harmonious oneness that connects us all, okay? We agree on that? Because I think when we know oneness, we can know that the good that we're seeking, remember that word that you came up with? The good that you're seeking is the good everyone is seeking. When we seek prosperity, is there anyone in the world that doesn't seek to have their needs met and maybe a little more? Is there anyone in the world that doesn't seek to have some peace in their lives? Is there anyone in the world that doesn't seek to have greater connections and greater love? I don't think so. I think these are universal things that we all are looking for. But sometimes we think of love as that sort of Valentine's Day-ish, oh, how sweet, I'm so in love. But it's something more. The power of love is something more. It's something stronger, bigger than that. And my husband, Paul, came up with an interesting context for love. He loves to gamble. He loves to go to Vegas and all places like Vegas, and he loves to bet, and he loves to play blackjack. And he's pretty good at it, thank God. Anyway, so people come up to him all the time, and they say, hey, so Paul, what's the secret to winning at blackjack? And he slings a lot of stuff like, help me out here, Paul, never split tens, always split aces and eights, and double down on 11s, right? So he's got lots of little tips. He's got lots of little tips like that, and he'll give them freely to anybody who would like him. But the one thing he says, do not go to Vegas or any place like that unless you take this one secret with you. And he says, you've got to love winning more than you hate losing. And I thought about that in a lot of life. We say we want prosperity, but do we love prosperity more than we hate the lack? Do we love being connected and being one with people and being in community with people more than we hate the pettiness and the drama? Do we love peace more than we hate conflict? So I just ask you to think about those things, because therein lies the power of love. And love is powerful. I know each of you probably has some stories about the power of love, but let me give you a couple that resonate for me. Kathy Ann, how many of you are Facebook friends with Kathy Ann? So you probably have gotten this video, but maybe you've opened it and maybe you haven't. But it really touched me. And I can't remember the names, but the story is about, the true story is about, let's call them Bob and Ann, Ann was pregnant with twins, a little boy and a little girl, and she was a little bit early and was rushed off to the hospital because she was going to be having these babies. She delivered both babies, and the doctor came in and said, so Ann, what is your little boy's name? And she goes, Jacob. We picked that name months ago, and his name is Jacob. And he said, Jacob didn't make it. Jacob's not here with us anymore. But your little girl is, and she's healthy, and she's thriving. And Ann looked at him, sort of in disbelief, and said, bring me my son. And the doctor looked at her and said, maybe you didn't understand. He's dead. He didn't survive the birth. She said, bring me my son. And so they brought the little lifeless baby to her and laid it on her naked breast, and she started hugging it. And then she looked at her husband. She said, take off your clothes and get into bed with me. And so the three of them laid there, and they told Jacob the stories. They told Jacob how they had been pregnant for all this time with him and his sister, and how they had grown to love him, and how they had grown to have all these plans, and how they were so happy that he was going to be part of their life. And he started to move. And they quickly called in the nurse, and the nurse came in and checked and said, I'm sorry, that's, you must be dreaming. The nurse went out, and they continued to hold and rock the baby together, skin to skin to skin. Continue to hold and rock the baby and tell him more and more stories of how loved he was. More and more stories about his sister. More and more stories about they were going to go to baseball games. More and more stories about how he would run and play with the family. And he started to move. And he started to, his little tiny hand grab on to his father's finger. And they kept telling him more and more stories, for they weren't going to invite any more medical professionals in. And they just kept telling him more and more stories. And the more stories he became, the little bit more he started moving, till finally his eyes started to flutter open. Till finally there was a little bit of voice coming out from him. And they kept telling him more and more stories till he cried. I won't go into all the rest, but they showed pictures at the end of the video of Jacob and his sister, 5 years old, with their little 3-year-old brother. That's the power of love. That's the power of love. They loved life more than they hated the thought of death. Do you see how it's so tempting to go to that fear of death or that hatred of death? But they loved life more than that. They loved Jacob more than that. Love is powerful. I'm teaching a class called the 12 Powers class, and one of the powers is the power of love. And the book that we're reading, called the Healing Secrets of the Ages, has numerous stories of the incredible healing power of love. And I can tell you those stories, but I'd rather tell you firsthand of people that I know, people from this community who have healed themselves from things like cancer, lymphoma, backaches, all kinds of things, just because they were willing to love or be loved. That they loved the idea of life and good health more than they feared the opposite. I also would like to tell you about people who have decided, after having two of my friends from this community again, who had 20 and 30-year relationships, actually no relationship with relatives in their family. Like nothing. Complete, something happened 20 or 30 years ago and there's no speaking to either of them for that amount of time. And both my friends decided that they wanted something different, that they wanted a family connection, that they wanted to feel that love and that sweet oneness, that harmonious oneness that love is. They wanted to feel that with their relative. And so they set that as an intention, and they activated the power of love. And after 20 and 30 years, they now have a close relationship with those siblings. Do you see how the love of connection, the love of family was greater for them than the fear of being hurt again? Fear. So, and lest you think that the power of love can be used for all these lovely things but can't be used for prosperity, think again. I have a friend, McKenna, over here. McKenna, stand up. I have a friend, McKenna, whose entire purpose for her business, she manufactures essential oils and bath salts and lotions and things like that, all for healing and love, right? Do I have that right? Helpful and healing. They are helpful in healing. And is that not love in action? Give me a break. Anyway, so this is her whole purpose for being. And one of the stories that I love to tell about McKenna is of her being in PCC. And she was straightening up the competitor's shelf. And her little assistant says, "Why are you doing that? And, those are our competitors." And she says, "Because I don't believe in competition. I believe that there's enough for all." Do you hear that? There is a good for all of us. The good that she was seeking is also the good that her competitor is seeking. Could it be possible that everyone could succeed? Could it be possible for her to step forward in love and be more successful by showing love than she ever was before? Is that possible in God? Yes. Someday I really want people to say, "Yeah, amen." I know. I feel like a real preacher then. Instead of like a pseudo one or something. But anyway, McKenna lives that. The other thing I love is my daughter Scarlett. She has a clinic that does a lot of work to help people with eating disorders heal. And she didn't get an MBA. She didn't go to business school or anything. And yet, her business is wildly successful, and I know it's because she loves the idea of people healing more than she fears business failure. Do you see how that is? It's like sometimes she looks at her bank account and goes, wow, that's amazing, because her focus is so on people healing. Thank you, Scarlett. So, other examples of the power of love. How about creative people? How about Miss Margaret Owen? How about what she creates? Do you guys get the feeling that there's any love for her art there? What about the rest of our musicians, Beverly, and all of the rest of James when he's up here? Do you think there's any love coming out through what they're giving you? Exactly. What about somebody like Thomas Edison, who went through thousands of failures? He so loved the idea of the light bulb, the electric light bulb, that even though people thought he was foolish and ridiculed him, he still loved the idea so much that he kept at it. Is there something in your life that's like that you love so much that you're willing to let the idea of somebody ridiculing you for foolishness go? I know I want to write a book, but there's a part of me that's like, oh, who's going to buy that? And do you see how it's easy to shrink back? Because I might be, if I wasn't a minister, I might be more fearful about that than I am courageous to put out what I love and am passionate about. I'm going off on a tangent, right, McKenna? Okay. McKenna has a sign over there that says tangent, so she's supposed to put it up if I go off on the... Okay. So, and what about people like Gandhi? What about people like Martin Luther King, who so loved the idea of peace and equality and independence for all, that they were willing to risk even imprisonment, that they loved that idea more than they hated the idea of conflict? What about them? Do you think with enough love, there could be an abundant life for all people? I think so. So, love. There's a power for love to heal, to connect, to prosper, to create, to do all of those things. How can we activate that? What if the power of love was already an app installed within you, okay? And your only job is to switch that app on, right? You know, there's two jobs where an app is concerned. Number one, you switch it on, right? You gotta switch it on. And this, thank you, Bobby. There's my techie wizard. And then the second thing you gotta do is use it, right? Do you really know that there's any power in your app if you don't use it? Right. Yeah, exactly. So you've got to switch it on and you've got to use it, right? Switch it on, use it. Power of love is that way. It's already installed within you. And it's just sitting around waiting for us to switch it on. So we're going to switch it on. It's going to take you 2 minutes, and you're going to do this exercise every single morning. Get comfortable. Put your feet on the floor if you choose. Take a deep breath. All we're doing is switching on the app, okay? Take a deep breath. And if you choose, put your hand on your heart. And allow yourself to just see a rose-colored light in your heart area. And allow yourself to experience a warmth in that area. And if you can't see that or can't feel it, just imagine that you can. Just imagine that it's there, because it works the same way if you just imagine it. And see that light growing. that rose-colored light. See that light growing and feel that warmth growing, and see them both extending out from the heart area. They go down your body, through your gut, your stomach, down through your reproductive organs, down through your legs, into your feet. The power of love going down through all those parts of your body, then extends upward, fills up your lungs, fills up your pancreas, it fills up your chest and your back and your shoulders. It fills up through your throat, through your mouth, through your nose, through your ears, your eyes, filling up your head with this love, this power of love. And allowing that power of love to just break through the top of your head, just ooze out through the top of your head and extend around the world. Just colored, beautiful, rose-colored light. And warmth, the warmth of connection, the warmth of oneness, the warmth of love spreading throughout the entire world. Affecting everyone that it rolls across. They may not know what's going on, but they feel something different. They feel love. And allow it to just go across the entire world and out into the universe. For the power of love has no limits. It does not, there's not just a certain amount. As long as you keep sending it out, it keeps producing more power. And so let it just flow everywhere and through all creation. And let it mingle with the love of all other people. Knowing that those who need love or need to feel that power of love are being filled up just because we're sending that love out. And so leave that love out there and come back to yourself, knowing that the power of love is now active within you. And open your eyes. Do this every morning. I promise you, you will notice stuff being different. You'll notice healings happening without you having to do anything. You'll notice relationships becoming more peaceful, becoming more connected. You'll notice projects being filled with love and completing because of that. You'll notice love having power. So the first thing is to activate it, which you've just done. And the next thing is to use it. I'm going to give you one way to use the power of love. There's tons of ways, and we can't cover them all here, but I'm just going to give you one way. This way is to develop and act from a place of compassion. My good friend Kelly LaRue, if any of you know her or have taken her classes, you know what a genius she is. But Kelly LaRue says, if you're ever stuck, this was in a course she was teaching called Solving Money Mysteries. So anybody here ever felt stuck around money? Or stuck around relationships, or stuck around creativity, or stuck around anything? She says if you're stuck around anything, she says you need to bring compassion into it. What? How does that connect? How does my money stuff connect with compassion? And she said, okay, so follow me with this. She said, because usually if you're stuck, there's somebody you're blaming or accusing about something. Does that seem right to you? Usually if we're stuck, we've blamed somebody or accused somebody of something. Oftentimes it's ourselves. Anybody here ever accuse themselves of, oh man, I wish I'd have made better financial decisions. Oh my God, I should have taken that job. Oh my gosh, I should have done this, that, or the other thing. Gosh, I was just so stupid. How could I have been so foolish? Is that just me? So anyway, if you're accusing anyone else or accusing yourself, stop and have compassion. How do we do that? She says, ask yourself a different question. Now, what's the question we usually ask when we're blaming ourselves or someone else? Why? Why what? Yeah, why did it happen? Or how could this have happened? Or why were you so stupid? Or stuff like that, right? If you ask a different question, first of all, thank God for Margaret, and you would all do really well to buy a CD from her and let I'm Seeking My Good play on your CD all the time. Because the first thing you do is you recognize that not only are we seeking a good in life, or 25 of them, or 1,000, not only are we seeking our good, but everyone's seeking their good. Let's repeat that. Everyone is seeking their good. That's where compassion starts. When we recognize that everyone is seeking their good, then our questions, remember I said you ask a different question? The questions can be like, if I was going to try and say that they acted that way because they were seeking their good, what good might they have been seeking? There's a question. Another question is, wow, is that a good that I seek too? Let's just say you got screwed over by a business partner. Is there enough blame there to fill up our coffers? Okay, you just got screwed over by a business partner. If you stop and say, okay, I'm blaming that person and I need to have some compassion, you can say, I have compassion for myself. I can have compassion for myself. I was just seeking my good, and he or she was just seeking their good. Does that make sense? Okay. He or she was just seeking their good. It's the same good I want, and how could I help us both get our good? So those are different questions, and the answer might be, wow, I can't give him any money, but I could pray. Do you see how that's something you can do to contribute to both of your goods? Okay. So because I really want to go through this. If you're compassionate, if you can get in that place of, oh my gosh, there must have been a good reason for this. They must have been seeking their good. Then, with compassion, you can move forward. It opens your blinders. In fact, there was a study done on compassion. Actually, a bunch of studies done on compassion. But there was an interview done by the lady who's the head of the Stanford University Center for Compassion and Altruism. And she brought up a whole bunch of reasons why compassion is good. She said compassion is, we have more well-being. We actually experience greater well-being when we're more compassionate. And she said that they divided people up, and this group of people, they gave some money and said, spend it on someone else. And they gave this group some money and said, spend it on yourself. Which one do you think had more well-being? Okay, it was the one where you give it to other people. But my husband, in all of his wisdom, says, wait a minute. If you got conscious and you were spending money on yourself, but you were conscious of how it was affecting everyone else in a really good way, then wouldn't that provide? He says, so when I buy a new boat, he says, now hear me out here. When I buy when I buy a new boat, he says, first of all, there were designers. I'm helping feed their family. He says, there were people who constructed that boat. I'm helping them too. He said, there are all those people that do the maintenance and the cleaning on the boat. I'm helping them too. And I had to agree. And he says, if we're conscious about how the altruistic nature of spending money on ourselves, doesn't that count? And it does. It does. So we have better well-being when we spend money anywhere. So... So also it says compassion broadens your perspective because you start seeing outside of the blinders. And they said when you have compassion and you start seeing outside the blinders, you're doing something for someone else. You're not focused on yourself anymore. And therefore, when you're not focused on yourself, it helps get rid of depression. Well, I have firsthand experience of this because about a week ago, I was just feeling really, really depressed. And so if you have any thoughts that ministers don't get depressed or blue or anything like that, that we're always enlightened, think again, or at least this minister. Anyway, and so Paul was really sick of me having my pity party with the cake and candles and everything. And he said, could you just get out of the house and go take a walk or something? Because you always feel better if you go take a walk. So I put on my little running shoes and my running pants, even though I never run, I only walk. And so I started out walking, intending to get rid of this depression. And God, I only got about maybe 10 minutes down the road when a car stops and start asking me for directions. They needed to go to group health, and it was just a little, like, older couple. They must have been 85 years old, little Asian couple, and they couldn't speak very good English, and they were asking me directions. Well, we're way far away from group health. So I'm trying to direct them and say, take this fork, and then at the 5-way intersection, kind of take the sort of left, but not really, and they're just looking at me like way confused. But you know what? I had the presence of mind to think, what's their good? They look really upset. Their good is for somebody to be clear and to get them to the place. And the little guy put his head down kind of on his wheel and said, gosh, I just wish somebody could take us there. It was obvious they had to get there quick. So this little voice in my head says, I think you're supposed to take him there. And the other little voice on the other side says, no, I'm not. I'm out on a walk right now, and you know it's dangerous to get in a stranger's car. And the other little voice said, come on. They're 85 years old. You could take them. And then the other one says, wait a minute. My whole purpose in being out here is to take a walk, a really good walk, and get rid of this depression. Another voice said, and I knew it was God, because instead of saying, well, for God's sake, it said, for my sake, just get in the car. I'll make sure you get rid of your depression and get your damn walk in. Because see, my God swears. Anyway, so I asked them. Now, this conversation, as you guys have probably had too, only took like a second, right? And so I asked the guy, would you like me to get in your car and lead you up there? Oh, would you please? So I did. Well, he was quite upset because I kept trying to take him down 15th, and he said the address is on 16th, but any of you who live up in the Capitol Hill area know that if you try to go down 15th, it's stop and start and stop, and you have to go around. So I was leading him down 15th. Well, he just kept being upset about going, and I knew they were upset about something. So to get him off of the whole focus on 16th Avenue, I said, how about you tell me your names? So they did, Lily and Min. I said, why are you going up there? Why are you going to group health? And she said that it was her first radiation treatment. And so I got them over to 16th and got them to the front of the hospital and showed them where the parking was and just put my hand on her shoulder and said, I'll keep you in prayer. And I got out and I started walking back and I looked inside me and there was no depression anywhere anymore. I had such a light feeling of love, of participating in this harmonious oneness, of helping someone seek their good, helping someone with their good, because that good is my good too. I had this feeling of being compassionate, of really living compassion, and guess what? My depression was gone, and I got home, and I had been gone an hour and 40 minutes. So what I want you to do, I've got other stories, but I've already, I have to tell you this one other one. We might go a little late. So I have to tell you this one other one. Have you ever heard the experiments that they do with pay it forward, like at a Starbucks line? They did one of those at Stanford too. They drive up in the line and you order your coffee and then pay for the person behind you, right? And drive off. And then the next person comes up and the barista says, "Well, your coffee's already paid for." And they're like, "Oh my God, that's so wonderful." So they pay for the one behind them. And it keeps going. They did this experiment and it went on for 3 hours. 3 hours nonstop. Compassion is contagious. When you hear the story of somebody being compassionate, it's contagious. What does that mean for the world? What it means, I'll tell you the answer. What it means for the world is that you can go forth and do something with compassion, do some little act of compassion or love, and it will spread, and other people will catch it, and they will go do the same. Trust me, this is the way that we're going to create a different world. This is the way. So I invite you to take somebody. I invite you to pull somebody into mind right now. Somebody who has hurt you, upset you. Somebody against whom you might feel irritation or anger, resentment, envy. It could be just the grocery clerk this morning on your way here that was just mean to you. But it could be a terrorist over in the Middle East. It could be somebody who cut you off while you were on the freeway. Or it could be someone who you think should appreciate you for doing all that you do at work. It could be yourself. Bring someone to mind that you're angry with. And now ask, from a place of if all of us truly are one, if the innate essence of this person is goodness, because we are all one with God. If the innate essence of this person is goodness, what good are they seeking? What good are they seeking to experience in their life? Could it be love, connection, peace, intelligence, prosperity, success, fulfillment? What are they seeking? Can you look at that person in the eye and say, "Me too"? I know what you mean. I'm seeking that too. Can you love the idea of being one with that person, being connected with that person more than you fear them? And can you ask, what is mine to do here? There was a woman who'd had a lot of experience with homelessness in our last Wealth Now salon, and she said, sometimes it's not even money I want, I just want a smile. I just want to know that someone sees me as being human. What can you do? Is it yours just to make eye contact? Is it yours to appreciate someone? Is it yours to work for peace? Is it yours to write a song that inspires people and lifts them? Is it yours to run a business that is all about healing and lifting people into a new reality of their own goodness? What is yours to do? Maybe it's just to get in the car. And so from this place of compassion, we know that we are touching in with the vibration of God. We have activated the power of love. We are using the power of love by asking these questions. What is the good we are all seeking? We are activating the power of love in asking the question, what's mine to do? We are activating the power of love just by having the intention to do so. And so I know the power of love not only is the power to heal, not only is the power to resurrect people from the depths of despair or into life in general. It is the power of love that brings forth prosperity for all of us. It is the power of love that will save this world. And so, knowing that each of us has this power in abundance, I say, yippee skippy, glory to God, and so it is. Amen.
Two powerful women this morning. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Sharon. Power of love in action. So I first want to say welcome to those of you that are watching us live, the live stream. We have several hundred people watching us throughout a week on live stream, so welcome. Next, I want to speak specifically to the men watching us and in the room. I suspect that there are times when you're in a new thought gathering that you would love to be in the majority. I have an opportunity for you. It's called the Men's Retreat. Now, this is a men's retreat for certainly 3 churches, Genesis, Amazing Grace, and CSL Seattle, as well as Olympia and Spokane. So it really is becoming a statewide New Thought men's retreat. And so we have a table out in the lobby, just outside the double doors, with some men staffing it, saying, ask me about the men's retreat. I urge you just to check it out. This is an opportunity. April 17th to 19th, Reverend Mike Bogart is the guest speaker. But I believe really it's about finding each other, finding other New Thought men who want to connect as community. So I'll ask our ushers to come forward and join us. And while they're doing that, I want to share another surprise for those of you who love Eddie Watkins Jr. There are many of us. He is going to be with us Wednesday at this week Wednesday service. He's going to be the musician for us. He's in town recording a new CD. So come join us, and we'll play with Eddie and the celebration of spring. So I ask you to bring your financial support to the center out. Hold it in your hand or hold your hand to your heart, and we'll join in again in the one mind, the connection to all that is, to the life, to the love, to the beauty and the joy that is this life. And I'm so grateful to each member of this community in this room and in the larger world knowing that it is together that we learn and support and grow, that we teach each other, that we move all that we are gaining of the good of our life, we move that out into the world, that there can be in this world, through you and me, a shift, a change, an opening of heart, a growing of goodness, of connection, of life itself. And so I ask you to affirm that knowing with me. And we do that by saying, and so it is.